In the jungle, the mighty jungle, the lion sleeps tonight. In the jungle, the quiet jungle, the lion sleeps near the village, the peaceful village, the lion sleeps.
The World's Fair of 1904 in St. Louis brought with it a walk-through flight cage commissioned by the Smithsonian Institution. St. Louisans fought for it to remain in the city once the fair ended, and it would later become a cornerstone for the zoo. The popularity of the birdcage during the World's Fair inspired civic leaders to build a real zoological garden in St. Louis. In November of 1910, the Zoological Society of St. Louis was established. The founders formed the organization with the hope that a zoo would make the city more appealing for visitors and residents alike.
The biggest obstacle of establishing the zoo was deciding where to put it. Promoters argued for Forest Park. The land was available, the location was ideal, and the park already hosted a collection of animals. But not everyone was convinced. One of the biggest critics of the Forest Park location was the city's park commissioner, who said a zoo, especially its animal buildings, could ruin the natural beauty of the park. Other locations considered included Carondelet Park, Creve Coeur Lake, and Fairground Park, which was the location of the city's first zoo.
When the zoo was looking to purchase its first elephant in 1916, it turned to St. Louis school children for help. More than 6,000 children took part in a penny campaign that resulted in a purchase of a 35-year-old Asian elephant who had once been a circus performer. She was named after James Harper, president of the school board. The children were excited when the elephant arrived. More than 17,000 onlookers watched as she was paraded through Forest Park. Miss Jim would remain popular throughout her 70-year life. In that time, she gave rides to thousands of visitors of all ages.
Another popular animal was Phil the gorilla, who arrived in September 1941. It would have been difficult to guess how popular or how large the small gorilla would become. Phil, weighing 26 pounds at the time, was one of 4 gorillas to come to St. Louis Zoo from Cameroon in 1941. It was Phil who captured the attention of St. Louis and the nation. Much of the attention came from his size. No matter his size, Phil held a big spot in the hearts of St. Louisans. It was his playfulness that endeared him. Phil was known as a practical joker who liked to rip off the shirts of zookeepers and splash water at the visitors who came to see him. When Phil died on December 1st, 1958, newspapers ran front-page obituaries, and families around St. Louis mourned his loss.
The zoo is a whopping 90 acres, and it has free admission due to the public subsidy from the Cultural Tax District, the Metropolitan Zoological Park and Museum District. Some fees are charged for special attractions, though.
The zoo is now home to 9,000 wild animals and over 655 different species of animals. The zoo is split into 6 different sections, each containing different types of animals.
Located in the Red Rocks is Big Cat Country. This spectacular natural outdoor setting for tigers, leopards, and other big cats was constructed in 1975. Simulated rock formations provide realistic backdrops for the felines. The exhibit consists of 3 large open yards, almost 1/3 of an acre each, have trees and shrubs, boulders, and a pool. The center yard has a 27-foot-high waterfall, and there are 4 smaller yards that provide excellent viewing or photographing of the climbing cat.
Big Cat Country is made up of African lions, Amur leopards, Amur tigers, jaguars, and snow leopard. An educational graphics area is located in the center of Big Cat Country. Panels illustrate the uniqueness of the cats, their specializations as hunters, their importance as predators in the ecological systems, and the problems of survival they face today. All of the big cats are in danger of extinction in the wild as humans continue to destroy necessary habitat and illegally hunt the cats for their pelts. The zoo has a commitment to strengthen and perpetuate the animal kingdom through breeding programs and public education.
Located in the wild is Jungle of the Apes, which is open in the fall, winter, and early spring. When the weather is warm during these seasons, some apes may make occasional appearances outdoors. Jungle of the Apes is closed in the summer season when the great apes are outdoors at Fragile Forest. In this indoor winter exhibit, groups of western lowland gorillas, chimpanzees, and Sumatran orangutans live in surroundings important of their native habitats. This comfortable, stimulating environment fosters natural group behaviors and interactions among individuals, facilitates breeding of these endangered species, and provides visitors with a glimpse of the great apes behaving much as they would in the wild.
Also located in the wild are the Bear Bluffs or the Bear Pits. The St. Louis Zoo was one of the first zoos in the world to replace barred cages with open, moated enclosures. In the early 1920s, 5 grottos for bears were literally molded from limestone palisades along the Mississippi River. With waterfalls, fountains, and pools, and a spacious and natural aspect, the Bear Bluffs have served as a model for numerous other zoos through the years. Today, the bluffs serve as a habitat for spectacled bears, sloth bears, and grizzly bears.
Next is River's Edge. Here you can take a journey along a waterway through 4 continents to discover how wildlife, plants, and people interact. River's Edge is the St. Louis Zoo's first immersion exhibit, a lushly planted naturalistic environment showcasing multiple species from around the world. As you enter a 10-acre exhibit, you'll become immersed in the animals' habitats. Watching hippos float gracefully underwater, rhinos wallowing in the mud, and elephants playing beneath a waterfall. With educational field stations, the limited barriers or buildings in the site, River's Edge invites you to learn more about the world in which we live.
Next, as a welcome point to the zoo, the Living World at the zoo's north entrance is your all-in-one information center. Stop by the welcome desk to pick up membership benefits or purchase a safari pass and save on the zoo's most popular attractions. You'll also conveniently find the guest services located here for rentals and special services. Treetop Shop, education, group sales, and Zoo Friends offices are also located in the Living World. The Painted Giraffe restaurant is currently undergoing renovations.
The Insectarium is one of the handful of exhibits in North America dedicated solely to bugs. It hosts more than 20 major exhibit areas, with more than 100 species of live insects. These creatures are definitely underrated. You can learn about how hard working they are, how they recycle waste, pollinate plants, and support the entire circle of life. As you enter, you'll find an 8-foot steel sculpture of Centaurus beetle, which you can climb and pose for a picture. Circling the entrance are much bigger than life-size ants. One of the exhibits is the Mary Ann Lee Butterfly Wing, which is a geodesic dome filled with tropical plants, rock outcroppings, a waterfall, and pool. You can walk amongst beautiful butterflies and moths.
The Children's Zoo, which is located in the Discovery Corners section of the zoo, is a fun and educational place for children to go while visiting the zoo. It includes the very famous see-through slide, and zookeepers often go around with different animals for children to see and touch. The Children's Zoo is the only part of the zoo that requires an admittance fee. The admittance fee is $4 per person, but is free before 10 a.m.
On the historic hill, you can find the 3 different houses. There's the Charles Hassel Herbarium, the Primate House, and the Bird House and Garden. The first herbarium, or the reptile house, was created from the idea of having a building specifically for snakes, lizards, frogs, and other amphibians. At the time, the interest and want for these creatures seemed to be high enough to warrant the new facility. The reptile house was renovated 50 years later and today is home to more than 700 animals. In 2002, the reptile house was renamed the Charles H. Hassel Herbarium in honor of the zoo's director emeritus.
Next, the Primate House was renovated in 1977. The original Spanish-style architecture of the 1929 structure was preserved, but the animal enclosures were completely redesigned. The traditional barred cages lining the walls were updated to large exhibits with colorful murals, rock formations, branches, ropes, and live plants to make it possible for monkeys and their relatives to be housed in social groups typical of their life in the wild. Separated only by glass from active family groups, you can watch a panorama of grooming, foraging for food, playing, parenting, and other social interactions. Rockscapes, waterfalls, trees, and vines provide numerous footholds for climbing and jumping for the primates.
Next is the birdhouse. The birdhouse is home to a diverse collection of birds, from the rainforest to the desert. In 1996, the zoo opened a new bird garden located on 2 acres between the birdhouse and the 1904 flight cage. The garden was designed as a tranquil escape for bird lovers. A winding pathway through the bird garden leads to 6 large aviaries, a spacious walk-through aviary, and a shaded pavilion overlooking an exhibit of cranes. You'll see a diversity of birds from around the world. The exhibits are enclosed with vertical stainless steel wires that are almost invisible, which allow the visitor an unobstructed view of the colorful resident birds that call this luscious, planted, and dramatically scenic exhibit home. All aboard! The Emerson Zoo Line Railroad offers a 20-minute narrated tour weaving through tunnels and past favorite animal exhibits on a 4.5-mile round trip. One of the zoo's most popular attractions, the Zoo Line Railroad, has transported more than 35 million visitors since 1963. The railroad
No one's
operates
waving.
year-round, weather permitting.
Marlin Perkins was born in Carthage, Missouri on March 28, 1905. He was interested in animals throughout his whole life, and at the age of 7, he created his own miniature zoo, a collection of mostly snakes, mice, earthworms, and toads on his Aunt Laura's farm. Marlin's interest in animals continued to grow, and he enrolled in zoology at the University of Missouri, Columbia. At the age of 21, he quit school to apply for work at the St. Louis Zoo. He was hired on the spot as a member of the grounds crew, making $3.75 a week. He then tripped to Chicago to work there for a short time. On his return to St. Louis, he took the job as a full-time director for the show Mutual of Omaha's Wild Kingdom. He televised travels through the world's jungles, velds, and deserts, places few of his viewers had ever seen.
Animal Always is the largest sculpture at any public zoo in the United States. The sculpture features over 60 animals peeking out from behind sculptured trees, ferns, and other plant life.
This is Barbara Zeman. All right, I just want to ask you, when did you work at the zoo?
I worked at the zoo as a volunteer in the gift shop from about 2001 to 2006.
So, you was working in the gift shop. What else? Did you do any other things?
Just the gift shop, I was waiting on customers.
Okay. What do you know? Like the most popular exhibits were back then that people enjoyed to go to.
Oh, well, they always loved the train.
The train, yeah.
The train, and then, of course, I was there when they opened up the, were they elephants?
Oh yeah.
What is it, what do they call that?
Red Rock or
No, it's in the book. And I was there for that. I was there for the
what was
puffins
the time?
and
Oh, the
there,
Fragile Forest.
what's the Fragile
Yeah.
Forest. That was when they brought in Raja.
Oh, Raja.
Raja.
Mhm.
Raja's got to be he must be about 22 years old now, 21 years old. And I was at the Science Center in the gift shop
That was.
when he was born.
This was before you worked at the zoo.
Yes.
All right.
I was there with almost 30 years at
Oh,
the
yeah.
Science Center.
What was your favorite animal at the zoo to see?
I always liked the seals.
The seals, yeah. I like them too. They were. How come they were your favorite? Just
Well, I think maybe just because they swim around and
yeah.
catch fish and
So you said the train was one of the most popular things to do. When was that put into the zoo?
1963
1963.
the train went in.
All right.
And there was an elephant house where this Fragile Forest is at. There was like an aquatic house. They had a walrus in there, and there was also a elephant house. And you could go in there, and the elephants were in there, and there were like hippos in
inside?
there.
Were they
They were inside this house.
Oh,
yes.
yeah.
The zoo is completely
It's
changed.
a lot different than. They're always making new changes to it.
All the cats were in cages at one time,
Mm-hmm.
and then they built that cat area,
Oh yeah.
and that's really very nice. The
It's a
zoo
lot of
has
space.
really changed a lot.
When's the last time you've been up to the zoo?
We were there in November last
Oh,
year.
yeah.
My
A Thanksgiving thing or?
little bit earlier, the great grandkids come from Kansas City,
Oh yeah.
and they like to
See the zoo.
see the zoo, and it has changed a lot. I
It
mean,
has.
the
I was
gorilla.
up there a few earlier, and it's changed from when I was there as a kid. It's so much.
Oh yeah, I
Yeah.
believe that. It's changed a lot just even since I left in '06.
Mm-hmm. All right. Thanks a lot for this interview today.
Oh,
That's pretty
you're
much all we
welcome.
need. Thank you.
Well, I wish